Conferences are so exciting, even in the virtual realm, because we get to connect with people from all around the world who have similar interests to us, but who are also very different from us. And especially in a virtual setting, we'll probably be following up with one another via email. Whenever we do that, we have to think about how we're going to get to know each other. What kinds of information are we going to share? Will we use emoticons in our emails so that we show our personalities? In other words, we're going to be using email in a transnational context across borders, and we're going to have to work with each other via email to negotiate meaning. In other words, we're going to have to kind of work together to adapt to each other's different dialects and individual speaking styles, writing styles, as well as contexts. So this is a skill that we want our students to have as well. And in this presentation, I'm going to share with you an activity, actually an assignment that I did over a 5-week period that can help teach students email through a transnational and translingual framework. I'm going to start with the need for this, provide the theoretical framework, and then discuss some teaching tools and my assignment sequence. So as I kind of set up, email is, ubiquitous. It's something that we all use, and often it's a common assignment in a business communication class. So what's different about what I'm talking about today? Well, research also suggests that email is cultural, it's social, and people use it to navigate complex relationships. And so what we really want to do when we're teaching email is we don't want to just teach a bunch of conventions like how to properly format it, but we actually want students to become really effective relationship builders in emails, right? And in order to do this, we can kind of use these frameworks of transnational writing education and translingual practice. So to kind of clarify the definitions of each, which are on the screen, transnational writing education has to do with helping to enable students to be effective communicators in transnational contexts, meaning contexts where borders are kind of fuzzy. People might be communicating across nation borders, across language borders, across gender borders. It's a situation in which we need to be kind of flexible and be able to transcend boundaries. Now, translingual practice is a practice that it's a theory that focuses on how people actually use language. So it's focused less on correctness for correctness' sake, although convention still matters, and more so on effective communication. And how people kind of get to that point of effective communication is up for negotiation. So on the screen, I have some different theories that have informed this assignment. I'll just kind of briefly walk you through it. So in terms of transnational writing education, this deals with negotiating meaning and drawing on all of the different linguistic resources that you have, and students learn this through the assignment. In terms of translingual practice, an important part of translingual practice from Kanagarage's work is the idea of dispositions. So these are attitudes that we take towards language and towards writing. And some of these dispositions that have been found to be very helpful, especially when dealing with people from various language backgrounds, include empathy, flexibility, and collaboration. And this assignment involves a reflective component in which students reflect on their dispositions, practices, and rhetorical choices. There's also research that suggests that email is best taught in situated, authentic settings. And so this uses an authentic writing situation. And also that it's important to, if writers are going to use writing effectively, they need to not only know the conventions, but they need to know that the conventions are flexible. And so this helps students learn how to use email conventions in flexible ways to achieve meaningful communication and relationship building. So in order to do this, the assignment that I designed with a colleague from the University of Beirut, American University of Beirut in Lebanon, had students from Lebanon and from Indiana University of Pennsylvania, where I was teaching at the time, partner and write to one another via email. And on the screen here, we just have pictures of the different universities. And this is just an assignment overview that we share with students. The learning objectives of the assignment are on the screen here, but I just want to emphasize that not only does teaching email help students gain familiarity with email, but teaching email through this translingual and transnational framework actually teaches students skills to negotiate meaning and to share the burden of communication, which just means that we're teaching students to be a little bit more willing to work with the person that they're writing to develop meaning, as opposed to assuming that that as long as they're clear, that everything should be understood. Because often what we find, of course, is that miscommunications happen. We think we're being clear, but we need to work with our reader to make sure that they understand us as well. So here I have just the timeline of the assignment. So it was over 5 weeks now. I partnered an English 100 basic writing course of my students with a business writing course from American University of Beirut. This could be done in a shorter time frame, especially if you have more advanced business communication students. But it's also something that can be kind of helpful in the first section of a course as kind of a slightly more kind of like low-key writing assignment, while students are also learning additional course content. But in week 1, I introduce the assignment and we do some genre analysis of emails. And then also I assign a shared article that both students in both courses are going to read, because that will be the content of their emails. Then in week 2, we focus on email etiquette coupled with meaning negotiation. And I do this through PowerPoints that have in-class activities embedded in them, which I will be sharing with you. In week 3, we turn towards effective writing choices, especially how to make effective choices for a reader who is from a different cultural context. And during weeks 1, 2, and 3, students are emailing with their partner as they're learning these skills, and then they're applying what they're learning in class to the email project. In week 4, they begin some reflective writing, and what they turn in for this project, their deliverable, is a reflective writing essay as well as their email thread. And then in week 5, we do a group debriefing activity. So the reflection prompt for week 4 for the assignment that's actually graded is as follows. So essentially, we ask students to focus on the strategies that they and their partner used in the emails and why. And the reason we do that is because we want students to be thinking about making purposeful choices about their writing, and also reflecting on if their strategies were effective and to what extent their partner strategies were effective. But this reflection prompt could really be tweaked for all kinds of different students. You could focus it more on reflection oriented towards business communication or technical communication, that sort of thing. And there are additional reflection questions in the email assignment file, which I have shared. I'm also sharing all kinds of different assignment links. So the email assignment sheet, the email genre analysis activity, my PowerPoints, feel free to use whatever you like, and additional teaching tools, including an email etiquette handout. The Writing Center at Indiana University of Pennsylvania put together a professional memo and email workshop that you're welcome to use. This is the reading by Peterson and Ackerberg is the reading that we assigned for students to read and discuss via email. And then the final reading from Giles is about reflective writing and was assigned to help frame that final reflective writing assignment. Now, in terms of adapting this to your own context, even if you don't have an international partnership available, you can do this within one course by partnering students within your class. You could even partner students from different sections, or if you teach different courses, you could partner students from different courses. Such as what we did, which was business writing and first year writing, although it was at 2 different universities. But this is actually really important because something that we learn from translingual and transnational frameworks is that we're trying to move away from the native and non-native speaker dichotomy, which focuses on the idea that some people are native English speakers and others are non-native. And this is problematic because it's challenging to define at what point somebody becomes a native speaker. For example, if they started speaking English at 5 years old, but their home language is something different. Are they a native speaker? At what point does somebody become fluent in a language? These are challenging to define because fluency is such a vast concept. And so the idea instead is that everybody has a lot of different language variety, even those of us who, even if you identify as monolingual, meaning you identify as speaking only one language fluently. Most people have at least been exposed to other languages, and we also have our own dialects. So I'm from Western Pennsylvania. I have a different accent and dialect from many of my listeners. And so even within seemingly non-diverse groups, meaning if you have all native English speakers, I keep using quotes because we're trying to move away from that idea, but even if you have, let's just say, all native English speakers, there's still diversity within that group, and so you can still use this as a teaching tool. Now, a lot of my materials, all my materials, were designed in 2019, so pre-COVID, and so they were for a synchronous face-to-face class that met Tuesday, Thursday, and all of these materials could be adapted for asynchronous settings and online settings. For example, I've shared Google Documents that I often use for in-class activities, for group activities. I have students edit Google Documents. Many of you probably do this as well. But instead, what you could do is you could have students do this on discussion boards, or you can still have them collaborate in Google Documents, even in an asynchronous class. And then I've shared PowerPoints, and you can also record your lectures using my PowerPoints or just using materials from them. Additional recommendations. So you don't have to obviously use the reading that our students used, but you do want to assign something that is culturally relevant for everybody. So especially if you're working with students from other contexts, make sure that whatever you choose is interesting and relevant to both contexts. And then it is very helpful to assign a reading that has to do with international global communication, because as students are emailing each other about that reading and working through it together, they are also learning additional course objectives about international global communication. So depending on your setting, consider that sort of a reading. So I've provided here my contact information. I'm at West Virginia University, and I'd love to hear from you if you try out this assignment or if you'd like to partner with me planning my spring semester now, as I'm sure you are too. And I would be very interested in collaborations. And here is a list of related research and readings. And again, please check out the different links that I've provided with this video. You can use them, and you can actually, if you have this, I'll upload this as a video, but also just as the link to this PowerPoint, and you can kind of click on the different links throughout to get these different handouts and materials. So thank you for being here, and I hope you have a great day.